Good. All right. Thank you all for coming. As you may have heard, last night the states of New Jersey and New York joined together to sue the Trump administration to force it to stop holding the Gateway Tunnel project as a hostage in a political fight. Congress appropriated the money for Gateway. It has a federal grant and loan contracts worth $15 billion. $4 billion of which has already been obligated and is ready to be used for construction. The project's underway. Nearly 1,000 people are all hard at work, and canceling the funding is arbitrary. It's capricious and it's illegal. And I refuse to let it happen because this is about jobs. This is about our economy. 1,000 people already at work could be responsible for almost 100,000 jobs in the region, about $20 billion of economic activity. And so it's not just about the economy, it's also about people's lives. The almost 200,000 commuters a day that take the tunnel into the city, the impact of not being able to get home on time for daycare or to get your kids' soccer or basketball games or just have dinner with your family. It's also about the future viability of the nation's busiest rail. This is the most heavily trafficked rail in the entire country. The region's responsible for about 20% of the nation's GDP, and we know that the rail tunnels were heavily damaged during Superstorm Sandy. So this, for our region, is all about jobs, it's about families, it's about the economy. Unfortunately for President Trump, it's just about politics. It's him using this in any way possible to hold up progress in a political fight. And as usual, whenever he gets involved, costs go up and New Jerseyans get hurt. Gateway is the nation's biggest, most urgent infrastructure problem. It would rebuild and repair our Hudson River tunnels, which are over 115 years old. And this is the most significant infrastructure project in the entire nation right now. And this isn't the first time I've been fighting for the funding for these tunnels. That was in the first Trump administration, where again and again his administration moved the goalpost as we were just trying to get this project underway. And now the administration's back at it again. First, it was about the fact that they didn't like the federal DBE requirements. Then it was about the fact that they were saying we weren't fulfilling the federal DBE requirements. Now it's about DHS funding. So again and again, the goalposts are being moved, which is why we are going to court right now. State taxpayers will be stuck paying millions for heavy, boring equipment that is already ready to go and deployed. Hundreds of thousands of commuters will lose their chance at finally having reliable train service or a one-seat ride into the city. It's personal to me because my husband is one of those commuters. I know the difference this will make to so many of our families. So I spoke to the president about this late last week, and I told him just that. It is critical to the region, it's critical to jobs, it's critical to the economy. That's why we're fighting. Let me be clear. This is a political decision by the president to cancel money that is already in a pot, being ready to be put to work. So that's why we're fighting. This state lawsuit will demand that the spigots stay open for the funding, that people stay at work, and we can continue to get this project done. So right now the fight's in the courts. We have strong state leadership behind it. Governor Hochul and I are standing up to say the people of New Jersey and New York deserve better. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to our Attorney General, Jen Davenport.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This lawsuit is straightforward. The Trump administration cannot unlawfully freeze billions of dollars it owes for the Gateway project. So New Jersey and New York are jointly suing in the Southern District of New York to demand that the U.S. Department of Transportation stop this illegal suspension of funds. Let's talk about the harm. As it stands now, active construction on the Gateway project will have to stop this Friday. harming thousands of workers who will lose their jobs, and driving up costs on states that will never get back. To avoid this, we're seeking emergency relief by Friday, February 6th, and other relief later this month to ensure construction continues on what is undoubtedly the most important infrastructure project in the nation. We lay this all out in our briefs. The decision to suspend all project funds violates the law in multiple ways. It violates careful federal regulations that limit whether and when agencies can freeze project funds. It violates requirements that federal agencies have to give valid reasons for the decisions they make. And it reflects an unlawful effort by the President to punish political rivals by holding up this critical project. And that's something the President hasn't hidden. He publicly announced Gateway is, quote, terminated because the Democrats are so foolish, and added, there is no funding because it's up to me. That should offend every American. And it's probably pretty hard to hear if you're scheduled to lose your job this weekend. Once again, the President has picked a fight he will not win. Since President Trump took office last year, New Jersey, working with our partner states, have won lawsuits against the Trump administration over and over again because the law and the facts are on our side. And this case will be the same. Yesterday, the Gateway Development Commission filed a lawsuit arguing that the U.S. Department of Transportation is breaching a contract those entities signed together. They filed in a specialized court that hears those kinds of contract claims. But New Jersey and New York are being harmed too, in major and independent ways. So we're bringing this lawsuit to keep our foot on the gas and make sure we can protect our states as well. We've already invested millions of dollars in the project. Money our hardworking residents would never get back if we cannot move forward. And if the project has to stop midway, all of these active construction sites where workers have already started drilling could be left open. That's major public health and safety threats. So New York and New Jersey will be left holding the bill for securing those sites and addressing those dangers. Not to mention how badly our two states need the project to go forward, to improve rail service and to avoid catastrophic failures down the line. As Acting Attorney General, my primary responsibility is to protect our state. That includes protecting New Jerseyans from a president who, by this action, is putting politics over livelihoods. Thank you, Governor Sherrill, for your steadfast resolve and commitment to New Jersey, and for your dedication to this critical project. And thank you to our partners, Governor Hochul, and my incredible colleague, Attorney General Tish James, and the people of New York for taking on this fight with us. President Trump, we'll see you in court.
Are there any on-topic questions? I said to him that this was an incredibly important project, could be responsible for about 100,000 jobs in the region, as well as $20 billion of economic output. But he said, yes, I know the region well. I said, then you know how important this is, and I really urge you to ensure that this funding goes forward. He said he knows how important it is. He did not specifically have asked of me. So as you heard, we have about 1,000 people already at work. About $4 billion has been allocated to be put to work. where we've spent about $1 billion already to prep the site, get the road in shape. I was just there late last week. They were pouring the concrete pads for the boring machines. So all that gets frozen, and yet these machines are very high-end, very specific machines that have been shipped here. We are renting them. So that money will be lost over time. It's not just that money. It is also the fact that we will start to have to pay, if this goes on too long, for a breach of contract if this continues. And so it is just a huge waste of money. I mean, not to mention the impact on commuters and jobs and families, but just the complete waste of money would be a crime. It really would. It's definitely part of a broader political attack. You heard what the quote the Attorney General just had from the President. What was it, General, that it was because of Democratic foolishness? Yeah. I mean, he said it. It's not. That's why we're suing him. I think it's a really good possibility because, as you heard, this is money that Congress has already put towards this project. There's $4 billion of the $15 billion that has already been allocated and already ready to go to work right now. And so there has been no credible explanation for the holdup other than political games and moving the goalposts for this. So I think it's pretty likely that we'll prevail. You know, New Jersey sends $70 billion more to the federal government than we receive back in federal taxes. We've already spent millions of dollars on this project, and now we have the federal share. That is how this project gets done. There's no path forward without the federal support that is legally allocated towards this and illegally being held up by Trump.
We'll take one more, Larry.
New Jersey is pursuing all avenues to support the people of New Jersey. So I'm bringing federal suit, and the Attorney General is bringing suit. We have our members of our federal delegation, like Josh Gottheimer, working hard at negotiating to get the money released. We are using every means we have to fight hard for jobs, for the economy, for the commuters of this state. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.